On the second floor of the hotel, Supervisor Bob Vinson was on night duty when he noticed a strange-looking machine in the corridor, something that hadn't been there before. This floor was dedicated to employees, and at this late hour, the sight of such an unusual machine made Bob feel uneasy. It was a metallic box with a smaller box attached on top, and the front side resembled a bizarre control panel. The control panel had a total of 28 switchable keys. At that moment, the time was 6:30 a.m., and this incident was unfolding at Harveys Lake Tahoe Hotel and Casino in Nevada, a place that would soon make national headlines within the next 24 hours. For Bob Vinson, the issue wasn't just the strange machine. He had been on duty almost the entire night but hadn't heard any noise, indicating someone had placed it there. Whoever had left this machine had placed it on 4 wooden blocks that had sunk into the carpet, suggesting that the machine was quite heavy. What made the situation even more suspicious was that the locks on the nearby doors had been rendered useless with superglue. As Bob was still trying to comprehend the situation, he found an envelope near the machine with the words, "To the Harvey management," written on it. He quickly ran to call security, and soon, the police and fire department were also summoned. Initially, no one dared to pick up the envelope, fearing it might be a trap. Eventually, using a broomstick, they nudged the envelope open. Inside, they found a 3-page document typed on a typewriter. At the top, there was a headline, "Warning for Hotel Management and Bomb Squad." Below it, a message warned against trying to move the bomb, as it was equipped with a mechanism that would detonate it within milliseconds, if it was even slightly disturbed. The letter also stated that attempting to pour water or gas into the machine would trigger a float switch inside, increasing the internal air pressure and causing an explosion. The screws on the top were also connected to the trigger, and even a 25-degree rotation would detonate the device. In simple terms, this bomb was so sensitive that the slightest movement could cause it to explode, at least according to the letter. At that time, 600 guests were sleeping in their rooms at the hotel. The police immediately evacuated the entire building, instructing everyone to move to the parking lot. The bomb squad then arrived to inspect the machine. It was a steel box about ½ an inch thick, welded together with great precision. Even minor imperfections had been covered with car body filler to smoothen them. The box had bubble levels on all sides, likely to ensure it remained perfectly level. These details suggested that the letter's warnings might be genuine. The letter further stated that the bomb could not be defused, not even by its creator. It was equipped with automatic timers that would detonate it within the next 24 hours unless the management followed the instructions in the letter. Law enforcement and the bomb squad, recognizing the gravity of the situation, decided not to take any risks. They first searched for fingerprints on the box, but found none. They took photographs from every angle and used a special X-ray machine to scan its contents, trying to determine whether it was an actual bomb or just a hoax. While waiting for the X-ray results, an officer used a stethoscope to listen carefully to the box's surface. Something inside was definitely moving. The letter claimed the bomb contained TNT, but the exact amount was unclear. However, it did mention that if the bomb exploded, it would cause significant damage to the casino across the road. The letter advised authorities to evacuate people within a 200-foot radius of the bomb. Authorities took this warning seriously, evacuating nearby buildings, shutting off the hotel's gas pipelines, and moving millions of dollars in cash from the casino. FBI agents arrived and set up a command and control center in a nearby building. The tension was evident on the faces of law enforcement officers. They knew the situation was more serious than it seemed. But what were the bomber's demands? The letter demanded $3 million in cash, specifically in $100 used bills, without any markings or chemical coatings. The letter also warned that any attempts at deception would result in the defusal method not being revealed, and if the ransom was not paid within 24 hours, the automatic timers would detonate the bomb. But how were they supposed to deliver the money, and to whom? The instructions in the letter stated that the cash should be delivered via helicopter. The pilot was given specific instructions. At 11 p.m., they were to land near the LTA building at the Lake Tahoe airport, facing south. After landing, the pilot was to step out and wait by the fence, where they would receive a phone call with further instructions. The letter emphasized that only the pilot should be in the helicopter, no armed personnel or additional passengers. To execute this plan, FBI agent Cook piloted an FBI helicopter carrying the $3 million ransom, though the money was actually counterfeit. A gunman was also hidden behind the pilot's seat for security. At precisely 11 p.m., the FBI agent landed at the designated location and stood by the fence. Soon, a nearby payphone rang. When the agent answered, a voice instructed him to check under the phone booth table for another letter. The person on the other end kept the call under 5 seconds to avoid being traced. The new letter was addressed to the pilot, instructing him to illuminate the entire helicopter with a flashlight to prove no one else was on board. Then, he was to take off and head toward Highway 50. After 15 minutes, he would see a flashing strobe light in the forest, where he had to land facing south. There, he would find another letter hanging from a tree. The pilot followed the instructions, cleverly making it appear as though no gunman was on board. However, when he reached the location, he saw no strobe light. For the next hour, he circled the area, but in the darkness of the forest, there was no sign of any movement. Eventually, he returned to the airport. Later, they realized they had misread the instructions and had landed miles away from the actual drop-off location. To communicate with the bomber, authorities broadcast a message on TV stating there was confusion regarding the location. The bomber, upon seeing the message, called the police station, instructing them to flip switch number 5 on the machine and wait for the next call. Perhaps he was buying time to create a new plan. However, by then, it was already 6:40 a.m. The 24-hour deadline had passed, yet the bomb had not exploded. FBI experts estimated that the box contained around 1,000 pounds of TNT. Calculations suggested that if it exploded inside the hotel, the structural pillars would remain intact. Though interior damage would be extensive, authorities decided to detonate it in a controlled manner. They placed a small explosive device next to the control panel, intending to disable it before the main bomb could detonate. Buildings were evacuated, and at 3:45 p.m. on August 27th, the command was given, "Fire in the hole." The machine detonated from the shock, but instead of TNT, it contained dynamite, which had a much smaller explosion. Further investigation revealed that the mastermind behind the bomb was 58-year-old John Birges, who had lost his life savings gambling at the same casino. With help from his sons, he devised this elaborate plan to extract money from the hotel owner. John Birges' ultimate goal was to hijack the helicopter along with the ransom, if the pilot had landed at the correct location and stepped out. To retrieve the next envelope, Birges' sons would have taken off with the helicopter and the cash. However, their plan failed. John Birges was sentenced to 20 years in prison, while his sons, in exchange for cooperating with the police, were granted immunity. In 1996, John Birges died of liver cancer. Following this incident, the hotel owner renovated Harveys Hotel with a new design and more rooms, relaunching it as a bigger and better establishment.